wait a moment for it to click over, and I think we are good. Hello everybody. It is our meditation day today. Before we get started, I will open with an acknowledgement, starting with my pepiha, which again, if you have been following me, or if you are new to me rather, when I'm opening with my pepiha, what I'm doing is I'm practicing my self-studies to connect in and learn about my roots. And half of me belongs to the Maori culture, the other half is English. And yeah, I have been diving into self-studies of teaching myself te reo and parts of our culture. Now, the pepiha is a way that in Māori culture, an individual will introduce themselves, and it is a way that they are describing where they come from. And when they are receiving, so a receiver, when they're hearing somebody's pepiha, they can place the regions together, or the tribe, or the canoe that they have that they traveled by. So there's a really it's a beautiful way that they connect in with each other, how complete strangers will become familiar by the pepiha. So I have been practicing, but I'm practicing without my prompts today, as I am mindful that I do struggle learning scripts. So I am going to have a go at my pepiha without having a visual prompt in front of me today. So yes, bear with me if I am a little bit stammery while I work my way through that. So, ko waio, te taha o te whaia, ko tainui te waka, ko pukihikio o te, me te tui o te ao marama ngā maunga, ko mangapu te awa, ko Ngāti Kinohaku te hapu, ko Ngāti Maniapoto te iwi, te waipatoto ki Opurura te marae, ko te tui o te ao marama te wharekai, ko weteretahi rawa tiria ekatoni oku mātua tupuna, ko Chris West rawa Teresa Tahi oku mātua, ko Kia West, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. And I would like to continue this acknowledgement by paying my respects and honour to the traditional custodians of the land from which I am sharing from, which is the Yugambeh people, and taking a moment to recognise and honour the elders past, present and emerging. And I would like to conclude this acknowledgement by acknowledging my teaching lineage: formal, informal, local and non-local. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back there for actually getting through my pepiha without needing my visual prompts. I am exactly where I need to be. So as always, when I show up in this space, I like to do a bit of teaching, and then we do an embodied experience. And what I wanted to teach today comes off the back of immersing myself into the science of intuition, which is the webinar that I am teaching, the lesson that I'm teaching this Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And part of what I am teaching in there is about the repeat success of entrepreneurs, and the difference between an entrepreneur who has repeat success versus someone who doesn't. And there's actually been studies by the HeartMath Institute to tell us exactly why that is. And that has a lot to do with the heart brain, which I taught about last week, and having an individual, an entrepreneur who has passionate, focused intention and attention, and is actioning their intuitive intelligence. They are actioning what their intuition or their heart is guiding them to do. And so for me, since I've been immersing in this teaching and learning, I have been by default strengthening my own intuitive intelligence. And I have been taking some big action steps within my business, within my studies, within all areas of my life to ultimately be able to increase my my intuition and therefore increase my capacity to serve. And it came, my intuition has been guiding me to make some changes in how I'm showing up, in my delivery of my visibility. So I've been spending a bit of time with my intuition in refining and reflecting on my current how I'm showing up and to see how I can evolve that. And as you can see, I'm a little bit uncomfortable just because I action my intuition doesn't necessarily mean that it's a comfortable process. It does generally come with some discomfort, but I know the outcome by actioning and trusting my intuition is bliss, joy, and freedom. So where I was guided to make some changes is to reconsider how I am showing up. So our Tuesday lives are going to be a little bit different. We are going to be doing a tap in Tuesday where we use the incredible tool of intuitive intelligence tapping to raise consciousness, to raise vibration, and to clear subconscious fear. So that is what we'll be doing today. I am making some adjustments for how I show up the rest of the week as well. I am still in the process of putting that together, so I will unveil that for you. This will start off next week, so we will still have the energy evaluations tomorrow as per usual, and then from next week we will be designing something new. And this all is very much something that I'm becoming more and more aware of and excited to be deepening into, which is all about chaos. And I have been plugged in to some incredible scientists who talk about chaos and how it is chaos that ultimately evokes change. And I'm really finding myself being solidified as somebody who I just adore change. I love the process, even when it is uncomfortable. It hurts, and it usually requires things you have to put down some things, let go of some things in order for that change and that emergence to occur. It's absolutely a process that I've really come to get excited about. And so this is very much part of a change, part of a metamorphosis. We are taking some existing cells and then emerging them into a new structure and a new system. And I'm really excited about that. Another thing that I wanted to mention before we get into some intuitive intelligence tapping is how I have this whole process of really getting clear about how I operate, how I show up, how I serve, has really been made possible by by trusting my intuition, but also by creating a system that I'm beginning to recognize is an embodiment of the science of intuition. When we go deeper into this on Thursday, I will be talking about the fields within fields within fields that we are made up of, and I'm really seeing this beautiful representation of that in how I am structuring the way that I do things. And so I've created this template of it's a metacognitive template. And it is how I plan my day. It is how I plan a single task. It is how I plan the week, plan the month, and it's very much how I am also structuring and systemizing the way that I'm going to be showing up. And I have shared this template or an adaptation of it with my students who are coming along on Thursday night, because I think it is such a powerful way for us to be able to immerse and self-regulate and evolve by using this system. And it has had significant amounts of research put into it to demonstrate that it does support an individual to be able to evolve on their own, from their own self sustainability, their own self stores, if you will, without needing to rely on others. And I'm really excited about refining how I can transfer this to you in a way that will make more sense. I would like to demonstrate the templates that I have that I'm using, but for today I haven't prepared them, so I won't be. So we're going to move into the tapping now, after I've just shared a little bit of how the changes that are going to be happening here. And so I will just walk you through and explain to you what intuitive intelligence tapping is. And this was part of my qualification, becoming an intuitive guide, taught to me by Angelique Adams, who is just a phenomenal tapping teacher, tapping ambassador, tapping researcher. She's so I think she was saying 20 to 30 years that she has been building into creating an incredible education using tapping, and tapping is emotional EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's based off of using the meridian centers or the meridian points that are used in ancient Chinese medicine, in acupuncture and acupressure. And what it is doing is we're using a statement, an intentional statement to be able to restore balance, flow, and the right energy flow to the whole body system. So we are, when we have fear or limiting beliefs, they will sit in our system and they will cause blocks. And the way that I like to see them is like, like we get a muscle, a knot in the muscle, and that is very much how fear shows up in our subtle anatomy. It's like subatomic knots. And so that can sit within our system, and by using intuitive intelligence tapping, we are able to release that and dissipate that muscle. It's like us giving ourselves a massage using tapping on meridian points. And it's incredibly potent, it's incredibly powerful. It's probably the most, if in my opinion, and those who have engage with tapping on a daily basis will scream it till you're deaf in the ears, that it is just so powerful. It is so easily accessible. You can do it at any time to regulate stress, to regulate pain, to regulate anxiety, overwhelm. At the moment, I'm using it to regulate my afternoon food cravings, because I am on this, within my Show Up Unlimited program. We are planning and preparing for a fear detox, an intentional fear detox. So tapping has been ramped up in my daily regime. So I'm going to be capitalizing on that by bringing that into this space every week. So the points that we will generally work with when we are doing tapping are, I'll just run those through those for you. So we have the crown point, where you just tap on the top of your head. You have the eyebrow point, which is just where there's like a little divot, like where your eyebrow meets the nose bone. You can tap here. It's the eyebrow point. We have the side of eye point. We have the under eye point, the under nose point, the chin point, collarbone, and the thymus. And we do often work with the underarm as well, but I don't as often unless my intuition guides me to. And then we have the side of hand. And you can also work through the points on your fingers here. Hi, Bhavna. So just where where the cuticle line is. And you just tapping on these points here. I tend to use these points the most because I really like to tap, and I will tap most of the day. That's why I'm generally so high vibing. And it's also very discreet. So if you are in a public setting and you do start to feel that you are becoming quite, you can notice those sense of anxiety or overwhelm or stress or fatigue, and you can just tap very discreetly. If you are on a live stream, you can tap very discreetly and nobody will ever know. So that is a point that I tend to use quite a lot. When we go into this practice, afternoon food cravings, yes, I know they're so I have been tracking and using this metacognitive process for a couple of months now. Well, in it without knowing that's what I was doing, but yeah, and there's a pattern. There's definitely a pattern. But tapping is a superpower tool that can be used to support us through that. So what we will do for this process is I will just invite you to be tapping on the side of your hand here. In fact, if you just, while I'm completing the teaching of this before we move into it, if you just want to start tapping now and allow that that energy, that electricity within your meridians to begin that movement. And so the statement that we use with intuitive intelligence tapping is, I now release all of my emotional attachments to. And what comes after that will be a fear, a thought, an uncomfortable feeling. It might be pain somewhere in the body, tension somewhere in the body. And that in that space, you are then you can then use your non-local intuition to insert thing. There's a space there for you to be able to clear whatever is true for you in that moment. And what I will do with my clients when we use tapping inside a session is they will guide whatever is coming up for them. We will use the intuitive intelligence tapping to work through that. But for the purpose of when I'm showing up in this space, I will be intuitively attuning myself to the collective fears that are present for those who will watch live with me or on the replay. And as what we will are taught in the science of intuition is that this information, these limitations, these fears, these subatomic knots all exist inside the one mind or the quantum field. And that is how I'm able to access them. And you'll most likely find as we work through these limitations or these knots that you will notice a shift within you as you're following and practicing along with me. And so when we are doing this, I invite you to stay present to what it is that you are noticing within your system as we go through this. Do you feel a bubbling sensation in your tummy, or is there, are you feeling things somewhere else in your body? Staying present to where they might show up and just noticing and observing and feeling how it responds to your tapping, how it responds to the statement, and become the observer of this process. And I truly I think it's such a powerful tool that we have, and I'm very excited to be transferring the knowledge and information about it, as well as offering an embodied experience. Okay. So that being all said, let's unwind the nervous system now by practicing tapping into our subatomic knots and practicing intuitive intelligence tapping to be able to unwind, unravel, and relax. So what we will also be doing, just as well as what we would do when we are entering into a meditation, is we are activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which when we do so allows us to restore even when we are awake. It is purely by placing our attention there that is what we are doing, that we activate our vagus nerve through our breath, soften our psoas muscle, and detox from fear, the fight or flight response. So just taking in a deep breath now, in through the nose, filling your belly as much as possible and letting it all go out through the mouth. And again, breathing in through the nose, filling your belly even deeper this time, and letting it all go out through the mouth with a big audible sigh. One more time, deep breath in, and let it all go. slowing down, putting on the brakes, and just keep on tapping on the side of your hand. And you can repeat after me as we work through these statements. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear that it is not safe to be here. Noticing where you feel that in your body. Keeping your consciousness on your breath. Repeating after me. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this belief that it is not safe to slow down. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear of the chaos happening in the world. I now release all of my emotional attachments to feeling powerless to everything happening in the world. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear of the unknown future. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear that I do not know what I am meant to be doing. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear of being seen. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear that it is all too much. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this feeling of being completely alone. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear that I am not supported. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this belief and fear of change. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this belief that I shouldn't have to change. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this belief that I am unwilling to change. I now release all of my emotional attachments to this fear. That I do not know who I am on the other side of change. Gently lowering down your hands now, taking in a deep breath, letting it all go. And so that is how you can use tapping. Just whatever comes up after each statement is just whatever comes into your head is your non-local intuition guiding you to what subatomic knot is present for you to clear. And as I said, it is a super, super powerful tool with my clients. I teach them how to do a keyword tapping, which simplifies that process a little bit for them just to use on the go. It is, keyword tapping is what I do more than anything. And yeah, it is really potent work. So that is what we are going to be doing here on Tuesdays moving forward. On Tap In Tuesday is having a little bit of a discussion, a bit of a teaching before going in to clear some collective subatomic knots using the intuitive intelligence tapping method. I, for one, am very excited for this change. Even though I am very uncomfortable about this change, I am totally trusting my intuition to go where God needs me to go, and I'm really embracing that. Well, thank you, Chantel. Lovely to see you, gorgeous woman. Okay, well, that's it for me. I am going to one of my focused intentions at the moment is to stay in this this space of the parasympathetic activated nervous system as I detox from adrenaline and cortisol and stress. And yeah, so that means for me intermittent lying down and just taking some extra time to breathe and be in the present moment. So that's it from me. Yes, embrace that change. It's, I used to run from the chaos, but now I'm like, yes, chaos is here. That means change is here. So thank you for joining me, everybody. So much love to you. And I will see you tomorrow for our final energy evaluation. Have an amazing day.